Welcome to the Three Mouseketeers, a sibling podcast that understands your Disney addiction. I'm Jared.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Emily.
Today we're going to have a very good episode. We're going to talk about the CEP, which is the Cultural Exchange Program, and we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Katie Marin, and we're going to introduce her a little bit later into the episode whenever we get to the main topic. But first, let's get into some trivia. So, guys, this one is going to come from Beauty and the Beast. And I feel like you're going to get this one right away. I decided to give you an easy one this week. So the question is, how long has the curse been active in Beauty and the Beast?
Are there multiple choice answers coming our way?
There are not.
Oh.
I did not set them because I figured you guys would know this one automatically.
I mean, I've seen Beauty and the Beast many times, but I guess I've never paid that close of attention to that detail.
Me either, and it's been a while since I've watched it, so not fresh on my mind.
Oh, very interesting.
I mean, I can take a guess.
Okay, what's your guess?
How about you give us some, before we give you a guess, how about you give us some multiple choice? Because that should be pretty easy just to stick some numbers out there.
No, I'm not going to give you multiple choice because then it would kind of be obvious. You should know this one. I feel like people who are listening to this episode right now are screaming at you two for not knowing this off the top of your head.
Well, like I said, I can take an educated guess.
Okay, what is your educated guess?
I know that it's been a while. The curse has been going on for a good little while. So I'm going to say more than 10 years, less than 30. I'm going to go I'm going to go right in the middle of 20.
Okay, that is an educated guess. Amanda,
Yep.
What about you? Educated guess. Or non-educated guess. Who knows? Just toss a number out there.
Wait.
Let Amanda hold on.
Okay, but
Hold
I
on.
take my answer back.
Okay, hold on. Let's have Amanda give her opinion
let's
first.
let him give hers.
She's already given hers.
Let's go.
Nope, she's already given hers. Give yours.
I think it's less than 20,
Okay.
but I don't know exactly how many. The first thing that popped into my head is 19, but that seems really random, so I don't think that's right. Maybe 18. I'm going to guess 18 years.
You're going to guess 18 years. Okay. Emily, why don't you go ahead and finish your thought real quick?
Okay, so I started thinking back to the movie and how at the end, whenever all of the help, I guess, the cookware and all of them turn back into people, and they're reunited with their family members that did not work at the castle. So it can't have been 20 years because all of their family members would have been super old. So now I'm going with more like 8 years.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
In all honesty, I like your logic. It's not flawed, really. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. This information is given in a song.
Can you give us a hint as to what song it is?
Lumiere sings this song.
Be Our Guest?
That is the song.
10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting.
10 years
It's
is
10.
the correct answer.
Okay. See, I just thought 10 was too much of a solid round number, you know?
I know.
So I went with
that's what
8.
I thought too.
I
Yeah,
really
10 years.
thought, because I mean, that's one of the first songs that I think of. And for some reason, that's one of the first lyrics that I think of. It's just,
Yeah. See, I don't think of that first right away, that part. And I was thinking back to the very beginning of the movie where it has the book and it's talking there with all the information about the witch or whatever that cursed and all that. I was thinking that information.
yeah.
And that was not coming to me at all.
Well, this one turned out to be a little bit harder than I thought it would.
Yeah, definitely. It's those little details.
It's those little details. For some reason, you guys get like the most obscure stuff, and then whenever it comes to this, it's like, I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know.
All right. Well, Emily, why don't you go ahead and give us a history fact?
All right. For today's history, we're going to talk a little bit about Disneyland and something that I think is a really cool detail about the park. So, did y'all know that the drawbridge on Sleeping Beauty's castle is actually functional?
I did know that, actually.
Really?
I did, yes.
I did not.
Okay, good. I got you then. Apparently, it's the only working drawbridge out of all of the Disney castles, but it's only been used twice. So it was used once on opening day, and then the second time was a part of a Fantasyland upgrade in 1983. So it's not like they use it all the time, but it's pretty cool that it's functional and not just for decoration only.
So it's a functioning, non-functional
Yep.
drawbridge. Yeah. Okay.
You know, it would be really cool, like for the big anniversaries, if they did something where they lowered the drawbridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was thinking it would be really cool if like maybe like the characters were on the other side of it and they could make some like dramatic like lowering and grand entrance with like the characters.
Exactly. Maybe 75th anniversary, 10 years from now.
There we go. They should use it because I think it's a really cool feature.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think it would be really fun if they did like some kind of special anniversary parade or something where they like lowered the drawbridge and specific characters came out and did like a special thing. That'd be pretty cool.
It would. Yeah.
They need to use the drawbridge for a third time.
They need to use it more than that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't even understand why it's functioning if they don't use it.
I don't know. Maybe Walt had some ideas for it and just never came to fruition.
Maybe
But with the amount of people that go there, I can imagine it would probably be pretty difficult to lower and raise that bridge often. You know what I mean? So I would think special circumstances, special events, yes, but not necessarily every day.
Yeah, I would think that it would be like a special event. I think that it would be probably, special hours, obviously, or even maybe before park opening, where it was like this whole grand gesture of, hey, the park is opening,
That would be a cool idea.
But every day the park opens?
Yeah, maybe.
Sure.
Then it's not special anymore. It loses its specialness.
No, but it can be like the grand opening little magical thing that they do.
I mean, it also loses its specialness whenever you only use it twice, and the last time was in 1983.
No, I totally understand that. But I think for special occasions only, personally, that's what I think.
I think special occasions makes the most sense. Special parades. I think that would be probably the best one.
Yeah.
Like open the gates and let the characters flow.
All right.
All right, Amanda. Well, why don't you give us a tip for the week?
So this week I would like to talk about magic bands. Now you can buy magic bands. The colored ones are only like $5. So it's not that crazy of a price, but I definitely think that it is something that would be worth the little extra money to get those magic bands.
I'm curious if that's the reason why they're doing that.
To make you pay?
Yeah, to make you say, you know what, if I'm already paying, maybe I'll just go ahead and spend that extra money to get that special magic band that I like.
I don't necessarily think so. I know they are upgrading My Disney Experience, so they want people to really use My Disney Experience more. But I know, me personally, walking through the parks and everything all day, my phone drains super quickly. So having the magic bands takes that one less worry out of my head that, oh my gosh, my phone's going to be dead when I get back to my room and I'm not going to be able to open the door. I can just use my magic band.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of both. Like Disney, obviously, they do see it as an opportunity to make a little extra money for the people who do still want to use the magic bands. And then at the same time, they want to encourage people to use my Disney experience. I, however, would put in the extra money to get the magic bands. I love the magic bands. They're super convenient. And I'm also the type of person that I really try not to take my phone out as much as humanly possible while I'm at the park. The only times I take it out is to check reservations and like check for extra fast passes, things like that. But I really try not to use it at all besides that. So if you're like me and you try to kind of have a technology-free trip, I would spend the extra money on the magic band for sure.
Yeah, they do have another option. It's a key to the world card, and it's about the size of a credit card or those old keys that you used for the doors in hotels. It's that size, and you can use it to get into your hotel. Basically, all the same things that the magic band does. It's just in a card form instead of the band form. But for me, I think that is so much easier to lose than having a band that's actually attached to you.
Yeah, well, definitely.
The magic band is also just a part of an accessories that you would put on to go and enjoy your day in the park.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's just so easy. You just touch your wrist to the entrance, to rides, to the park, to your hotel room. You can pay with it. Like I always use it to pay for like quick service meals and stuff. Like it's so convenient. You don't have to dig in your pocket or in your bag. Like it's all right there.
You know what else is very convenient? Going through the mobile app and actually ordering quick service and picking it up. That's convenient.
I actually really do like that.
I do too, honestly.
So no, I do use my phone for that. And to take pictures and videos.
I do too.
Yeah.
And check all the wait times. But see, that's why I carry this big power bank with me in my backpack. And they call me Mr. Pockets. And we're actually going to talk about that on our next live stream. So make sure you watch that on Thursday. So I like magic bands. I've used them, obviously. I get one every time I go. What is really interesting to me is I think that people who live pretty close to the parks, who are maybe annual pass holders, who have a lot of magic bands, are going to just use the ones that they already have, maybe?
Yeah, and you can do that. And like, I know when we go in February, I have one from when we went in October, and I will just use that one. But if for some reason I didn't have one, I would definitely spend the extra money to get one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if it's only like $5. But like I was saying earlier, if you're going to already spend $5 on one, you might as well go ahead and move up to the next level that has like the design that you want, that has the character that you want, or the attraction that you like.
And that may be actually why Disney started charging. They're like, oh, people will pay for magic bands because they're paying for the nicer ones. So we'll just make them pay for all of them now.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier is it might be like the stepping stone into getting the more expensive magic bands. I mean, in all honesty, I wouldn't put much of anything past Chapek right now. Especially right now.
I wasn't going to go there.
Well, I will. All right, on that note, let's go ahead and get into our next segment, which is Hero or Villain.
Wow.
And I mean, I have selected Chapek. Yeah, a very good segue that just happened to be.
No.
Yeah. Look, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not a Chapek hater, but I am kind of concerned. So anyway, we'll get into the segment now. Our segment's going to be Hero or Villain, and this week I have picked Aunt Sarah, who comes from Lady and the Tramp. You guys are familiar with Aunt Sarah, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so Aunt Sarah, for those who don't know, comes from Lady and the Tramp. She is the aunt of Jim Deere, and she is the babysitter for the baby whenever they go on vacation or wherever they go. So what are your first thoughts? Hero or villain for Aunt Sarah?
She's one of those, it's kind of a little bit tricky. I lean more towards hero. I mean, whoa no, okay. I did not. Incorrect.
Okay.
I lean more towards villain because I understand that she is trying to protect the baby, and she's also older and maybe like more old fashioned and just like doesn't like the idea of the dog being in the house with the baby and the family or something. She definitely had something against dogs. I think she might just be a crazy cat lady. But anyway, she wants to protect the baby. She loves the baby more than the dog, obviously. But also, she's just way too mean to Lady. And if you're cruel to animals, you're a villain, and there's no exceptions, no excuses.
That is a very fair point. I do like that you brought that up. Amanda, what about you? Hero or villain?
I really think it depends on whose perspective you're looking at her from. Obviously, from Lady's perspective, she's definitely a villain. But I can see how she could be considered a hero for trying to protect the baby. The baby is the most important thing to her. So I can definitely see that her trying to protect the baby could make her a hero. But I also don't think she should have treated Lady the way she was treated, because Lady was trying to protect the baby also, just in her own way. So I can see it both ways, and that makes it difficult. I don't think she's a villain at all, but I don't think she's the greatest person either.
Okay, so then what is your final final thought on hero or villain?
Neither. That's what you always do, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh no,
neither.
But you always complain that we do that, so you can't do that.
I'll say villain because we're looking at her through Lady's eyes.
Okay. I am going to disagree with both of you. I'm going to say she's a hero, and I will tell you why. You both mentioned that she was protecting the baby, which was her job. She was there to make sure the baby was okay. We have heard horror stories of babies getting hurt when dogs were left alone with babies. And that is because, not necessarily because the dogs are vicious, but because of the way that dogs protect their young. And they don't necessarily mesh very well with babies whenever they're left alone. So I think she had a very good cause for concern for leaving the baby alone with Lady. We all know that Lady was a very sweet dog and would never hurt the baby because she was protecting the baby. But you have to know that things can happen before you even realize it. And I think that she was just doing her job. She was being the protector of the baby. So okay, I say hero.
I would be okay with all of your explanation if she wouldn't have brought those two stinking cats with her.
That's what I was going to say too. The cats.
Because cats sit on babies and suffocate them all the time. So the cats were a bad idea.
But
these are mean cats.
And the fact is, her cat destroyed these people's house, and then she blamed Lady for it and was cruel to Lady, like downright cruel to her whenever it was the stupid little cat.
Well, the cats are her babies, so of course she's going to protect her babies.
They're evil.
Yeah.
The cats are very conniving, and they are evil. And if this was hero or villain for the cats, then I would say yes, they are villains.
All three of them are villains: the cats and the aunt.
Okay, well, it's 2-1. I guess I lose this round, but let us know what you think, hero or villain, on Aunt Sarah. So let's go ahead and get into our main topic. Our main topic is going to be the CEP program, which is the Cultural Exchange Program. And we have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Katie Marin, and she is from the podcast called A Sprinkle of Disney. So let's go ahead and get into the interview we have with Katie. Katie, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here, and any excuse to talk about it, I'm well up for it. So I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem. So you do also have your own Disney podcast, A Sprinkle of Disney, correct?
Yes, we do. It's me and one of my very best friends. It's a very new podcast. It started in July, and we released episode 10 today. So yeah, it's very new, but we're really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. I think it's one of those things we always thought in our heads we'd like to do, and then we eventually told each other, we were like, let's just do it. So yeah, that's been really great. So yeah, it's available like on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, across loads of different places. So we tend to focus more on like films and stuff, but it's new. So yeah, it's fun. It's really nice just having an excuse to talk about Disney to people who'll actually listen.
Yeah, exactly. I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and tell us what you did with the CEP program?
Yeah, so I did the CEP program in 2017, but I applied in 2016 because it was a long application process. And I decided that I wanted to go and work for Disney. I went onto their careers website and found that you could go and work in Disney World in Florida during like a summer between my like college semesters, my college years. So I just went and applied, and I think I applied in the August, had a really long application process from August to December, finally got accepted in December, and then I flew out in the June, and I spent 3 months living and working in Florida, in Disney World. I lived in Disney like owned accommodation in Orlando as well, and I worked in Disney Springs. So the great thing about the CEP is that you can kind of work in anything, anywhere. So we have like lifeguards through to character attendants to characters and merchandise, which is what I worked in. So I was based in Disney Springs in the Star Wars shop, the superhero shop, and Candy Cauldron, and then anywhere else that they needed you in Disney Springs. You tended to jump around a lot. So that was in a crux what I did when I was there. That was where I was based, and I didn't get to choose that. It was kind of allocated for me. We got to give an indication of the role we wanted to do, but location was completely out of my hands.
Okay. Was there any chance of like moving from Disney Springs to go somewhere else, or was it this is where you're stationed and that's the only option you have at this point?
Yeah, so I was really lucky in merchandise. You can do that. So some of my flatmates, because I moved and I lived with 5 other girls in my apartment, who were also all doing the college program. They all ended up being from England as well, England and Scotland. But I know people did like live with people from across the world in their apartments as well. One of my friends there lived with someone from France, even though he was from England. And some of those girls did the like fast food side, and they couldn't move because when you were trained in those skills, they were very specific. So you'd be trained on like specific foods. You'd be trained from like, here's how to do a salad, and then you'd upgrade to chicken nuggets. Like it was very specific in the fast food areas.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. You'd be like, oh, this week I'm learning how to do the burgers because it was so specific. Whereas I was really lucky in merchandise because when you trained on like tills and stocking, etc., it was applicable basically park wide. And so I was really keen to go beyond Disney Springs because they put me in Star Wars and Marvel, which I love Marvel. But at the time, I think I'd seen about 3 Marvel films, and I had seen 0 Star Wars films, which was a trial. And people would come in and be like, "Oh, have you got this character?" And I was like, "Let me just check the iPad. Let's see if it's in stock." And really, I was trying to see what that actually looked like. So I wanted to go out and work in the parks. So with merchandise, you can pick up shifts across Disney World. So I also worked in Magic Kingdom. I did two different shifts in Magic Kingdom. I did one in Agrabah, where it's literally right next to where you meet Jasmine and Aladdin, that little shop. I worked there, which was really cool. That was actually an accident because I turned up in the wrong costume. I turned up, honestly, I'd picked up a shift, but you know, they have like the fan blowers and like the water blower trolleys that go around. I'd picked up a shift there, and I when you picked up a shift, you could log on to like the Disney hub and kind of check outfits and all that kind of thing. So you go to costuming and pick up the things that you needed for the different shifts. I picked up the wrong costume and turned up. They're all in like gleaming white clothes with like white caps and socks, and I turn up in the pink and like purple, orange, stripy jumpsuit with Agrabah, and they were like, but it was great because it meant that I got to work in Agrabah. So I did that shift where you jump between that and the cart near Jungle Cruise. And then I also worked on Main Street, I think it was Main Street East, where I did the hat shop, the Mickey and Tinkerbell meet and greet shop, and the exit park carts as well. That was one of my highlights. I think I worked that of an evening. It was like 9:00 when Happily Ever After was happening, and I was like on the gates of the park. Nice. So that was a real magical moment, that one. Yeah, that was good.
I bet.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We just talked about the telephone in the hat shop not long ago.
The hat shop was stressful because that was somewhere where I didn't have the skills to make the hats. So you'd rotate. You just like you would when you work in merchandise there, you have like slips that bump you out. So when someone has a break, they put a new slip that will kind of bump people around. So they'll bump you between positions. So you would go from being the greeter on the door to the till maker, etc. And in that situation where you're on a rotation between locations, I was bumped like between locations. I was in the hat shop for about 15 minutes, and I think it was the most stressful 15 minutes of my program, to be honest, because people kept coming in and asking me for edits on the threads, and I was like, I have no idea. I was swiftly moved out of the shop. I'm hoping by coincidence, but I'm not entirely sure. And so yeah, to be honest, the hat shop was not one that I was an expert on. It was very stressful because people kept coming in and asking for like specific colours, and I was like, I don't even know if we do that. I've been here 5 minutes, like I haven't got a clue. So yeah,
Can you just come back in like 5 minutes?
I was like, let me just check. So I worked there, and I also got to work in Hollywood Studios as well. I went and worked in the Tower of Terror gift shop in Hollywood Studios.
Best ride in the park.
Which was really cool. That was really, really cool. I was gutted I didn't get one of like the merchandise outfit is different to the outfit for the like ride attendants. But I got that classic like blue and red outfit, which is really, really cool. So yeah, and lots of the cast members who worked in that shop were quite like older, well-esteemed cast members, so it was like a nice different vibe, because in Disney Springs where I worked, it was mainly college program students and CEP students, so it was a nice different vibe. So yeah, I made it my goal to work like park-wide, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was wondering if you'd be able to move around and actually get to work within the theme parks as well, so that's neat that you did.
Yeah,
and you can, I could move in and go do the hotels as well, but there were some areas, for example, like where in the Polynesian, where there's like the Moana store upstairs, because they sell tobacco, like you have to have like a tobacco like skill to go and work in that shop. Because I'd been trained on cash apron, because I did the glow carts in Disney Springs, which I'm still traumatized every time I walk past a Mickey Bubble ones. It was special, because I had like cash apron training, so I could go and work in shops like that. So there were some specific areas that you couldn't go into, but mainly you could kind of work anywhere and everywhere, which was great about merchandise. It was a really nice perk of having that role. I was also supposed to work in the Christmas shop in Liberty Square, but I wasn't well, unfortunately.
Oh no!
So I had to. I know, it was really sad. I was like, I can go, it's fine, and then I was like, no, I really can't. Like, I really shouldn't go. Yeah.
That's really cool. I think that would be fun to be able to go to different areas and work, because then it doesn't feel so boring, I guess, being in the same place every day all the time and
not
never
as
seeing
routine.
anything. Yeah.
And I think because, like I say, my lots of the way that merchandise would work is it's very rare that you'd have like one store specifically. There were a few. So like, for example, if you were based in Walt Disney, that was your store because that's so big in itself. Or if you were in Mouse Gear in Epcot. But most of the merchandise roles were on a rotation. So even when I was in my home location, I would be split between Star Wars, the Glow Carts, the Candy Cauldron, and Superhero Headquarters. So you had quite a nice, you're right, it was a nice range of stuff. And there were some shifts where you would just be like the merchandise hostess, and then there were some shifts which I used to get quite a lot and quite enjoyed, which were long, but they were stocker shifts, so I was literally responsible for stocking the shop all day. But you'd get to kind of move between the stores throughout the day, which was really cool. So there was definitely a lot of variety within my role, and I was glad that I had that role, because lots of my flatmates who had the like fast food one loved the program, didn't like their job, because the exact same thing. They were like, my entire 6-hour shift has been cooking chicken nuggets. So like it's hard to make that magical, you know?
Yeah. I can imagine.
So how many days a week did you work whenever you were in the program?
It ranged between, I think, like 4 to 5. I think I used to have at least 2 days off a week. That was what we were guaranteed. But they would be split up throughout the week. Some days you'd have more, like less. And I used to pick quite a few shifts up, because I was going traveling straight afterwards in America on my own. So I was saving up for that as well. So if I ever had like a day, like a week that had 3 days off, I'd try and pick an extra shift up. But it was a nice balance, because I tended to get the later hour shifts as well. So when you're on like the CEP or the college program, you tend to get the like graveyard shifts. That's just kind of what you're given. So I'd usually start work around 4 or 6 in the afternoon or evening, and then I'd work through till about midnight or 1 in the morning, depending on the day, which was great in a way, because it meant that you could go to the parks and stuff in the daytime and enjoy the Florida life in the day, and then just hop to work in the evening. It was tiring, and I was definitely exhausted when I got home. I felt like I was missing out on 3 months worth of sleep, but it was definitely worth it. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you on your days off if you were going into the parks and how that worked with the program. Like, were you able to go in? Like, is that included?
Yes, that was the best part of the job. So you get a really cool pass. So when you go on your training, well, you have like 2 weeks of training before you start as well, and the first week is in Disney University, which is like a real place, where you go and you learn like all about how to be a cast member. And it starts with something called traditions, which every cast member at Disney World starts their training with that, and on that day you get given your name badge, and then you also get given this like magical blue card that basically has like entry main pass, which means you can just get in for free, and you could link it with your magic band. It was the best thing I ever had. It was amazing. I always felt really special walking into the parks, like, woo. I felt like a VIP. So yeah, you could go in for free as many times as you wanted. I definitely spent most of my days off in the parks, and I was there for 3 months and still didn't do everything, because it's just so big. Like, there's just so much to do. The great thing as well is you could earn free passes for other people as well. So before I started, I think it used to be you could get up to 5 people free on your pass, but they changed that. Where for I think it was every 50 hours you worked, you got like 3 passes or something like that. So I think I built up a few guest passes whilst I was there. So you can also build up time to take family and friends, which is nice. And I think if you're married, you also get like a spouse card as well. So they are really good perks, to be fair. I also got a lot of discounts. So I think I got 15% off merchandise. And you also get varying discounts on restaurants. It would depend. So for example, I think we got like 40% off certain restaurants at certain times. So we'd go to like, I think it was Ohana for breakfast. You get like 40% off. It would depend on the day. So it was really cool. The discounts were amazing.
I bet.
Yeah, it used to have, because then we had like I had like a blue Disney ID card that had like my name and Mickey on, which was really cool. And when you like send the bill off, you just put your ID card in and like hand the bill. And I always felt really official, because then they took the discount off. So it was great.
That's really cool. I don't blame you for spending all your days that you were off in the park. That's where I would be too.
Yeah, I definitely split between like a few other things. So I did quite a lot of Universal as well, because I lived in Florida, I ended up being eligible for a annual pass with a Florida residency discount, which ended up being cheaper than doing like 3 visits to Universal. So we all did that as well. So I definitely did a lot of Universal Harry Potter stuff as well, and tried to go and see a little bit of like the Orlando area, but it was definitely mainly the parks. Definitely.
Yeah.
So you said you were working about 4 to 5 days a week typically. What do your hours look like? Like, how many hours would you say you had a week?
Oh, that's it. I'd probably say maybe like around, it was normally between 30 and 40, but it could range between 30 and 50 sometimes, depending on how many I picked up. You were guaranteed a certain amount of hours a week because when you work on the CEP, like I said, your accommodation is arranged through Disney as well, so you get paid weekly. And they take out your rent each week from your paycheck before you even get it, which was, I mean, it was expensive. I shared a room and there was 6 girls in our flat, and it was expensive for what it was. From then, like I say, the hours were a little bit skew with. Like my normal shift would probably be between 4 and midnight or 4 and 1, because our shops and springs were open a lot later than the parks. So people who worked in the parks probably finished about 9 or 10. When I worked in Magic Kingdom, I think I finished at 10 or 11, and I was in shock. I thought, I can go home before midnight. This is crazy. So yeah, they were quite often long hours, especially if I worked a stocker shift. I'd start at 3 in the afternoon and then would normally finish at midnight or 1. So they were long, and I think it is really hard work. I think you go in knowing that, being like, yeah, it's fine, it's going to be hard work, but it's heavy retail work. There's a lot of stock moving. There's a lot of high expectations. So obviously it's Disney, so everything is the best. So when I would work in the fruit shop, every night we'd have to clean that down. The display case had to be pulled out. Everything was taken out. Everything that was out of date was thrown away. Everything was rearranged so that it was in the right order for Best Buy dates and stuff like that. And you put it all back together, then your manager would come and be like, "There's a speck here. You'd have to do it all again." High expectation, which is good because it's clean. But when it was 1 in the morning, you just want to go to bed.
Oh yeah.
So I guess the question is, if I think everything above 35 hours is considered full-time. So were you considered a full-time employee?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were. Like I say, because we had those 2 days off, so we were seen as full-time, I think. But it's never really labelled that. You're labelled as a CEP because your hours can fluctuate, and you can give hours away as well. So you could kind of give shifts away. Lots of people would do that if they had birthdays or they wanted just a week off or to go and travel a bit around America a bit more. The problem with that is sometimes people would give away too many hours and they couldn't afford their rent. So you had to be careful with that. I definitely considered it as full-time, but just really skew with hours. The hours were definitely a little bit all over the place, and you tended to find that other cast members who were kind of older or who'd been there longer tended to work the mornings and then would have their evenings off as well. But it was harder for me to kind of tell because our area was so college program and CEP heavy, and when you're there as a CEP, you're kind of just classed as a CP. They actually call us ICPs, which is International College Program, even though that's not what we called it. That's how it was kind of seen to the managers. So yeah, I was in a very CP dominated area, which was nice. I've got friends now from across the world that I talk to because of that program. But we did work a lot, definitely. And it was hard when you have so many CPs kind of working at once in the same area because they're your friends, which is great. But if you're not working, that means they're probably working themselves. So trying to coordinate days off was a bit of a challenge as well.
Yeah. So you had said that you were in a room with 6 other people, right? Or 5 other people?
Yeah, so I was in an apartment with 5 other people, and then I shared a room with one other girl as well, who she actually was on the Haunted Mansion ride. She was a ride attendant for the Haunted Mansion.
That's fun.
I was really jealous of her because her costumes were so much better than mine. So yeah, it was lovely apartments and really nice complexes. I think the one that I stayed in was called Patterson Court, but I think because of the status of the college program at the minute, I actually think that's been sold and is being moved. I think they're updating all the program buildings, which is really sad to think that my little apartment is going to be not Disney anymore. But they offered a free bus service from all the different apartment complexes to all the parks, all the water parks, all the hotels. And they also offered them to places like Walmart as well. So it was a really nice connection, and it was all free, which was really useful.
Yeah, that's nice. Very nice that you don't have to worry about your own transportation.
Definitely. I know a lot of American CPs brought their cars, but obviously when you're international, I don't drive anyway, but if I did, I couldn't really bring the car on the plane.
And you'd be driving on the wrong side, so
oh my god, I'd be so stressed.
Yes.
I don't blame you.
No, trying to cross the roads was hard enough, let alone driving a car.
Yeah, been there. We lived in New Zealand for 2 years. So I totally understand the driving on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
It confuses you.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I got in the taxi or the Uber, I was like, what is happening? I was like, we're on the wrong side. I definitely had to get used to it.
Yeah, I bet. So we all had questions at once. I feel like I've asked a lot. I'll let one of y'all ask.
Amanda, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so in the apartments that you were living, was it all the cultural exchange program people in those apartments, or was the college program mixed in with that as well?
Yeah, it was a real mix. So it was both. Like I say, I just ended up luckily having a group of 6 CEP CEP people in my flat. But it was a real mixture of CP and ICP across all of them. So you had, mine was Patterson Court, and then we had Chatham Square, which is where all the buses went. That was known as like the one that everybody wanted. You had Vista Way, that then was kind of known as the one that was like the cheapest one, and is known as the party place. I never saw any parties because security are quite strict, but that's what it was known for. I think that's more of like a historic thing. And then we had I've forgotten the other one. That's really embarrassing. There was another one that was out of the way. The Commons, that was it, which was more out of the way. So there was 4. So there was loads of different apartments, and it would range from, I think it was like 3, either a 2-bed or a 3-bed, up to like an 8-bed, depending on the complex.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of college, a lot of like young adults in one space.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But security were quite strict on that as well. You had to have like scan yourself in. People had to like leave the complex before 2, and it was there was a lot of security, which was a nice feeling being new in a country.
That's nice, especially being so far away from home, to make sure that you feel safe.
Yeah, it was really good.
Did you get to choose where you lived, or they just assigned you?
Yeah, you could put preferences. So I think I've just put the preference of I think I used Chatham, because that was like a balance between kind of cheap but not crazy cheap. I think Chatham Square was the one that had like up to 6 people, whereas Vista Way had 8, and I was like, 8 just feels like too much to be in one space.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I lived with like 12 people in my first year of uni, and that was not pleasant. So I was like, no, it's a no for me. So you got to put preference down, but obviously lots of people have the similar preferences. So I didn't get my first preference. I think I probably got my third. But the only difference really is price. And I ended up being really happy because my complex was nice and quiet, so I could kind of go to the bus station or go to the events elsewhere and then come back to a really quiet complex. And all the complexes had pools and a gym and like a service area that was always manned as well. So they were really, really nice apartments, if a little bit expensive. They were really, really nice.
So were any of your flatmates friends with any of the characters?
Not my flatmates. However, there was one of the people that I flew out with. So getting to Florida was a bit of a trial because my flight was delayed by about 5 hours. So that was interesting. And in that delay, 6 of us who were on the program were flying out the same day, found each other. So my friend George, I met him on the plane, and it turned out that he was friends with Eeyore and with Buzz Lightyear as well. I think they were good friends eventually as well.
Okay, very cool.
So I got loads of stories from George about those characters, which was great.
I bet.
Yeah, they were really good stories. Just like the whole process of kind of meeting the characters and how they became friends was also really interesting to hear as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting because from what I've seen, if you're in the CEP program, you can't be friends with any of the face characters. Mm-hmm, it has to be a fur character, correct?
Yes, it does. The reason for that is because when you're on a CEP, because the lengths are varying, so mine was only 3 months. I know other countries can have them slightly longer, but for the UK, it's 3 months. You're not necessarily there long enough to meet enough characters. You're only there long enough to meet a certain amount of characters really well. So that's why you don't kind of have time to get to meet and get to know the face characters. I love acting and stuff, so I would have loved to have gone and been friends with the characters, but it's all kind of based on how tall you are. So when I went for my final interview, I had to go through 2 interviews in the UK. The final one was at Disney headquarters down in London. Really cool building. It was like a big, like bejeweled Mickey Mouse in the lobby. It was amazing.
Wow.
I was like, someone take my picture. All the security guards have been like, oh my god, what is your problem? But there, you got to tick all the roles that you were interested in, because you can do that. You can put a preference down for all the roles as well. And I had a magical Disney measuring tape to measure my height, and it turned out that I was tall enough to be friends with Mr. Smee. But unfortunately, that was Mr. Smee wasn't available on my program. You couldn't be friends with Mr. Smee on my program, so it's very hard to be friends with people on the CEP unless you fit a very specific height. I know lots of people on the CP and the CEP have been friends with Mickey and Minnie, but it's a harder one to get into. A bit like the character attendant is also a really competitive role that very few CEPs get, and if they do, everyone's really jealous.
Yeah, I can imagine. So it kind of makes sense that it would be a little bit harder to get just because you're there for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think because the skills that you can kind of learn from things like merchandise and fast food, people might have had in their previous jobs. So I know lots of it was matched up to do with your skills before coming on the program. So I was quite grateful that I didn't have any fast food experience before doing the program. So I won't get put on that. Whereas the two girls in my flat who did work in fast food, they did have previous experience working in fast food. So I think the skills are often matched up a bit more. So yeah, you're right, because you're there for a short amount of time. It's harder, and if you're a CP and you extend, you tend to move roles, and you kind of have a bit more flexibility of how you can develop, whereas a CEP is a little bit more rigid in that sense. For the UK anyway, I think places that are potentially near Mexico and Puerto Rico, I think they might have had a slightly longer program than us, but it's because ours was over the summer of obviously between university years, so we were a bit more confined, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the college program for the US, you can do 2 tours, basically. Is that something that can be done with the cultural exchange program too, or is it only one time that you can do it?
You can go back. You can go back the next year, but you have to have been in university the year before. So when you apply, you have to have you can't just apply like after you've left university. So you're kind of limited to those to 2 years really, because you have to have been in university a year to apply. So I applied after my first year at university, so went in my second year, and then I could have applied in my second year and then gone in my third year. So you're kind of limited to 2 times unless you've got a really long degree. Yeah, and obviously in America you can use it to count as your credits, which obviously it doesn't work like that in the UK. It's completely separate to your university degree or college degree.
Okay.
So had you ever been to Disney World or America in general before you started the program?
When I was 3, so I remembered little bits, but not a lot. And when we went, it was all quite dramatic. My mum ended up in hospital in America. So what I remember is actually is hospitals and ambulances instead of the castle.
Wow.
So it was really special for me to go. I think, was I 19 or 20 at the time? Because I went to that traditions thing I was mentioning before, they take you to the parks because it takes about a week or 2 weeks before you kind of get your pass to be approved and into the parks. So I'd been there about a week and a half before actually going to any of the parks. And I was sat in the classroom and they were talking about how to be a great cast member. And they say, let's go and find an example. And they literally take you down and put you on a bus. And then you walk through the backstage area of Magic Kingdom onto Main Street. And that moment was amazing, just to kind of turn around and have the castle there. Was crazy because I hadn't been in forever really. I'd always been when I was young and I had little snippets of memory but not a lot. It was like going for the first time, definitely. So it was really special to go, and it was special to go and have a wage coming in because I could really enjoy it properly, because as we all know, Disney's expensive.
Yeah.
So to have that ongoing income was really beneficial because it meant that I didn't have to keep saying no to myself all the time. I did at some points. I didn't like spend every penny. But it was nice to have that. So yeah, it was really great to come and have the American experience as well, because I definitely had a bit of a culture shock. I think people in the UK assume because Americans speak English, it's very similar to England. It's still different. Yeah, it is different. I was really traumatized going to Walmart and just trying to buy ham. It was really hard. Everything was family size. I was like, I just want one person's worth of ham. It was really hard. So yeah, it was great to come and have that American culture as well, particularly living in, because obviously you don't live in the parks. I think we lived somewhere off International Drive, so you still had, you go to like the local supermarkets and stuff. So it was a great experience to kind of come and experience America as well as the parks, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
What do you think the best benefit of being backstage is?
Oh, it depends. You know what? Because the best backstage is Magic Kingdom, no doubt. Because Disney Springs didn't really have a backstage. I had to like walk through Disney Springs to get to my break room, and I'd have to like dodge questions and stuff. So Disney Springs wasn't particularly glamorous, but Magic Kingdom, obviously with the Utilidors, that was the best part because you could, underneath the castle, all the walls are painted correlating to the land that you're in the Utilidors. So you'll kind of switch between like pink for Fantasyland, then move into orange for Frontierland or Adventureland, which is really cool. So I think the best part was kind of seeing how busy it is backstage. You know, you go from one moment kind of walking past people with their, like, I remember one day, it was a day that I'd come in and we were just kind of previewing on our training, and the marching band from Main Street literally just came out of the door. It was amazing. We'd have you just kind of walk past Peter Pan in the Utilidors as you do, you know. It was really cool. Yeah, I remember going to, there's something under there called the Mouseketeers, which is the canteen basically, but just with a cool name. And I remember seeing like Gaston look really lost with his pizza. Like it was quite surreal experiences that you would never get anywhere else. That was definitely the best part, was seeing so many amazing cast members in one place, all doing their own thing to make the magic happen, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's very neat.
Especially because underneath the castle, in the Utilidors, they also have like a princess dressing room where all the princesses obviously prep and get ready to go up and meet people. And so you quite often see princesses kind of coming in and out of there, doing their makeup and their hair, which is really, really cool as well.
Man, I want to work at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. This is why I kept picking up shifts in Magic Kingdom, because it was definitely the best backstage area, 1,000%.
So were you ever given the opportunity to go back as just a full-time employee instead of in the CEP program, or was that ever offered? Or
no, I thought it wasn't, because obviously I guess visa-wise it's a lot more complicated. So I did have to get a visa to go out and work there. I worked on a J1 visa, but it was never an option. It was kind of given. I know for college program students that happens quite a lot. I worked with quite a few cast members who had started as college students and then just loved it so much that they moved to Florida, and that became their full-time job. But that wasn't really a thing for international cast members. I would have loved it. I've been in like buy university degree, don't need you, I'm going to go work at Disney. So yeah, I have applied to go back to do something separate, which is the cultural, what do they call it now? Cultural something. It's another version of the program, but it's the one where you go to Epcot and you work in the pavilions.
Yeah.
Because all the cast members in the pavilions are obviously from the country themselves.
Yeah.
That is so competitive because they recruit about 3 to 6 people each year for it.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to my program, which was about 200 to 300 people. So it's still competitive. Wow. Like I think over 1,000 people like applied for my program still. So it's still competitive, but it's different.
Yeah, it's even more competitive.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot more to do with connections as well, because you go through an agency in the UK. Before you get to Disney, a recruitment agency manage that for you. And I know quite a lot of people that have managed to get onto that year-long program in Epcot have known people on that agency, and it's been a bit more kind of about networking. So I'd love to have gone back and done that, but it clearly wasn't in the cards. So which is fine. I'm fine with it. I'd love to go and work there on a professional career level later in life, like go and work with their marketing and advertising department. I think that's my goal now. I'd love to go and do that. I definitely want to go back.
Yeah. Have you been back to visit since your college program?
No, it's really sad. Yeah. It's just so expensive. I really want to go back and see so many of my friends obviously still live in America. It's been 3 years now, 3.5 years since I've seen quite a lot of those people. That was the hardest part. The last night that I was working, I had such amazing work friends from both the CEP and just college program and general full-time members of staff. We all went to a diner. Like I got the full American experience. I went at like 2 a.m. to a diner, had a milkshake, and we all kind of said goodbye. But that was really hard because you never know when you're going to see those people again. And because again, America's so big, loads of them now live across the US, and we're not all in one place anymore. So I haven't been back. I would love to go back once COVID decides to just leave us all alone.
Yes.
I definitely want to plan a trip either with the girls that I lived with when I was there, because we're kind of hoping to go back maybe in 2022, 2023, or with some of my other Disney friends as well. I definitely want to go back. I'm definitely having withdrawal symptoms. I haven't been to a Disney park since then, so yeah, I haven't been just because it's so expensive. And my advice to people is always, if you're going to go, make sure you've saved up enough money to go and enjoy it. You don't want to be there the whole time saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Because that kind of ruins the magic a little bit. So I'd have to save up significantly to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like me, I went in October and I can't wait to go back. So
yeah. I remember leaving and thinking, I need to go back like next week. I think we need to get back on the plane. And go back. Especially, like I say, because you don't do everything because it's so big. So I was there for so long, and there's still restaurants I didn't get to eat at. There's still characters I never met, which is a good thing, I suppose, because it means that every visit is worth it and every visit is different. So but I'm definitely dying to go back.
Yeah, I bet.
I think it would be strange to go back as a guest now there as well, because obviously when I was there, I was there as a cast member in disguise. So I think it would be strange to go and kind of stay in a hotel the whole time. That would be really bizarre, but I'm still going to go, obviously.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to scan your little VIP card to get in now.
I know, it's really sad. I have to pay to go in.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
I'd be like, sorry, do you know who I am? I used to work here 3 years ago.
So if you could go back and change anything about your experience, would you? And if so, what would you change?
Oh. Hypothetically, yes, I would have loved to have gone back and worked in the parks, because when you work in the parks, you get a very different experience to working in somewhere like Disney Springs, because people don't have to pay to be in Disney Springs. So not that the magic isn't there, but the magic is a little bit stricter than it might be in the parks. For example, I didn't get to give out as many magic moments as I might have done in the parks because no one's paid to be there. So if someone complains, it's a bit like, well, you're here for free, which is a little bit harder. Because I did get that a lot. I'd have people come in and say that this story will never leave me. I had a guy come in with his kid and said that he bought this lightsaber 2 years ago and the kid sat on it yesterday and broke it, so he wants a new one for free. And I was like,
oh God.
I was like, Disney magic only extends so far, you know?
Yeah.
And we get a lot of that in the shops. And I think people tended to be a little bit more stressed when they came to us because they'd normally had a full day in the parks. They were waiting for a dinner reservation. So we tended, and like I say, the hours were later. So over a weekend, we used to open till midnight. So I think hypothetically, I would have liked to have gone and worked in the parks instead. But I wouldn't change that in the last one because I met so many amazing people. So it's like a double-edged sword. If I wouldn't have met the people that I met if I hadn't worked in that location. So if I went back again, I would love to work in the park area instead, just because it's just a very different experience. Because people tend to be, ironically, a little bit more relaxed when they're actually in the park. It's all the bits in and around and before it that stress them out. So yeah, but like I say, I wouldn't change that in reality now because I met so many amazing people. Yeah. Because I remember thinking the same about the apartments when I got Patterson Court instead of the one that I'd wanted. But again, I wouldn't change that because everything happens for a reason. That's the way I always think, and it meant that I got a quieter complex and me and 4 of the girls stayed in close contact. We talked basically every day from the girls that I lived with. So I think the experiences that I've taken away from it mean that I can't change anything because I got great things from it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I do have one more question on my end, if that's okay to ask now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so do you have any really special magic memory stories that really stand out to you?
I do. I have 2 actually. So one was I remember coming back from, I'd been on shift and it was really hot and I had to wear like dad jeans with like the style of jeans I had to wear for the shop and like a long sleeve shirt, and I was just not having. It was one of those days. And when I had to walk back to the break room, because the break room, ironically, for the Star Wars shop is in Moto, the big Asian warehouse area. So it was a long walk. And I remember walking past one of the kiosk stands and I was like, I am treating myself to a Mickey bar today. I was like, I don't care, it's happening. And the cast member gave it to me for free, and it was the most amazing thing because it just lifted my whole day. And she was like, "Us cast members need to sit together," and I was like, "Thank you so much." I got nearly crying over an ice cream. So that was amazing. Because it was the little things that could just pick up your day. And then the second one was with a guest. So it was when I was working in Magic Kingdom, and I was on the exit stalls to the park, and I had just been stopped over for my break. And as I was about to leave, this guest came over and said to me, are you free to pin trade? Because obviously when you're working merchandise, you get given a pin lanyard from Disney as part of your uniform. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm just about to go on my break, but absolutely. And we traded pins and whatever, and he said, you can pick whichever one that you want because you were so kind to not go on your break and trade pins with me instead. So he literally gave me like an extra pin for being so, and I have those pins in a box, literally, I can see it here, because he had like a little Mickey Mouse with a UK flag on, and it just felt like it was meant to be. So I did keep that one. Sorry, Disney. I definitely replaced it, I think, but I kept that one. So yeah, they were really special because they're only little moments, but they're moments that would really pick up your day, because when you had long shifts, it's hard to stay happy all the time. So that was really nice. I think they're the two stand out. There will have been so many more, but they're the two that definitely stand out. Yeah.
See, and that kind of transitions into really the last question that I had for you, which was, do you collect anything Disney?
Oh, I don't like deliberately collect anything Disney, just everything and anything. Tends to be the way. I was saying before, I have quite a few Disney mugs. I have the pins. I kept pins when I was there that meant something. So there's quite a few that like would mean something to me, whether it was through the moment, whether it was through the character. But I didn't kind of collect pins or autographs when I was there. I'd love to go back and do autograph collecting. I didn't really, because I'd been there for so long, and then I realised I wanted to do it. It was a little bit late. So I'd love to go back and do that next time. Do I collect anything Disney? Maybe like Disney bedspreads. I have far too many of those. Disney bat, nothing specific. Maybe one day, but for now it's just anything that I like the look of.
Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for us for Katie Marin. Thank you again so much for joining us on our podcast. And definitely check out her podcast, The Sprinkle of Disney. And when do those release? When can people expect a new episode from you?
So there's a new one every 2 weeks. So we tend to release either Saturday or Sunday, every other week. So there's been one released now, so every other week from now. We'll say that there. But thank you so much for having me. It's been so enjoyable, and I look forward to listening to your episodes and having found your podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks.
Okay, well, once again, we want to definitely thank Katie for coming on and doing this episode with us. And we want to promote our YouTube channel where we do our live streams. You can find us at bit.ly/T3M YouTube. That is all lowercase. Again, that link is bit.ly/T3M YouTube. If you love the show, let us know. Leaving us a 5-star written review is the best way for us to know how we're doing and if we're covering the topics that you want us to cover.
If you're looking to travel in the new year, I can plan the trip of your dreams. Whether you're looking for a Disney vacation, all-inclusive resort, or international destinations, I'm here to help. Contact me when you're ready for your free, no-obligation quote. And don't forget, my services are completely free. You can follow me on Facebook, Amanda Hollis, Capture the Magic Vacations, or find all of my contact information in the show notes.
Join us for our next episode releasing Thursday, the 21st of January. We will be talking about some of the many ways that Disney brings families together. Be sure you're subscribed to the show so that you're updated when a new episode comes out every other Thursday.
Okay, that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you all for listening. You can also be a part of the magic by following the show at T3M Podcast on all social media platforms. That's T3M Podcast. Leave us a 5-star written review and we'll read it on an upcoming episode. If you have an announcement that you would like to have on the show or just want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at t3mpodcast@gmail.com.
Have a zippity-doo-dah day.
See you real soon.